Throughout the 2024 regular season, Mel Raines saw glimmers of what could be for the Indiana Fever. It was Caitlin Clark's first season, the second for Aaliyah Boston, the number 1 draft pick in 2023. The season before Clark's arrival, the team had already doubled its win total from the previous 2 years combined. Even as the Fever opened their season with a 5-game losing streak, Raines, newly appointed as the CEO of Pacer Sports Entertainment, had hope. That brutal 19-day, 11-game stretch weighed heavily on the team, which earned just 2 wins over that span. It's a tough experience for any team, let alone one of the league's youngest rosters, given the little amount of downtime and extensive, sometimes coast-to-coast, travel. But for Raines, the promise of something good kept peeking out. The Fever went into the All-Star break at 11-15, positioned well enough to make a run for a spot in the playoffs, its first since Tamika Catchings left. And that push to the playoffs in Clark's first season made it clear to Raines that the momentum offered a chance to go even farther, to keep improving. The previously planned departure of Allison Barber from her role as president of the franchise opened a window, allowing Raines to bring back a familiar face in Kelly Krauskopf. Together, the pair charted a course for putting the team into position to not just go after playoff berths, but go after WNBA championships as well.
The Fever made a lot of changes this offseason to put themselves in the best position possible to get that championship ring. First, they hired Indiana native and Purdue alum Stephanie White to be their new head coach. They also added WNBA veterans DeWanna Bonner, Sydney Colson, and Natasha Howard to the roster. They traded for Sophie Cunningham and signed Brianna Turner, and they re-signed all-star guard Kelsey Mitchell.
The major moves include hiring longtime WNBA executive Amber Cox to serve as the team's new general manager. All of it has fed the flames of interest in the club among fans, observers, and players. And for a league with a salary cap that pales in comparison to what's found elsewhere in professional sports, just over $1.5 million for the 2025 season per team, it meant that several players coming to the team were generally willing to forego major paydays to secure a spot on the roster. Since Clark's arrival, the Fever has grown far beyond being viewed as just a basketball team. In reality, many have begun to recognize it as something for which Pacer Sports Entertainment has long strived. A defined, deliberate, and most importantly, viable business in the same way as the Pacers in Gainbridge Fieldhouse.
All those years where teams have invested and teams have believed and teams have made things happen for the WNBA will now bear fruit in terms of that bottom line.
While this transformation into the new-look Indiana Fever certainly hasn't come without its growing pains, that uphill climb has also generated a well-chronicled swell of interest in the WNBA as a whole. It's brought millions of new dollars in sponsorships to the league and its teams, with the Fever in particular drawing massive crowds and viewership numbers. Likewise, it's created inroads for numerous other players to capitalize on the new audiences. It's also spurred other opportunities, including the construction of a new headquarters and practice facility for the team. But with so many new pieces and such incredible pressure on their shoulders, what will it take to make the Fever a true title contender for the first time in a decade?
You want to play with good players. That's really what our focus is. We don't really get caught up on who's watching who and what that's about. It's really, we're building a team. This is the Indiana Fever.
I'm Mickey Shuey. This is Beyond Clarkonomics.
The number 1 overall draft pick in 2024. Let's hear it. Caitlin Clark to Indiana.
Caitlin Clark is an American icon.
I can't think of a better place for myself to start my career. A place that loves basketball, supports women's basketball.
Everything came together perfectly for the Indiana Fever.
This giant opportunity to cast Indy as a place to visit.
This is Beyond Clarkonomics.
The Fever believe they have the pieces necessary to make a deep run in the postseason. Now they just have to put it all together, build that team chemistry, and win.
Whether it's from fans, the media, or the players themselves, interest in the Fever has seemingly never been higher. And while it's fair to say that a majority of that stems from Caitlin Clark's superstar status, including the swell of fans that began following the team last year, that doesn't account for all of it. Each of the players to join the Fever during the offseason came to the team with their own fan bases, although the following of some, such as Sophie Cunningham, had become larger than others. Cunningham is among the team's most effective users of social media, offering behind-the-scenes content to her sizable followings on platforms like TikTok and Instagram, where she has a combined following of nearly 2.4 million, as well as through endorsement deals with Crest Nutrition and Adidas. As such, her jersey has become one of the best sellers in the team store.
I think it's awesome. The people have been amazing here. Just the culture that we have here. I'm just really happy and blessed to be here.
And Fever veterans like Lexi Hall and Aaliyah Boston have also grown their follower counts in recent years by taking a similar approach. And while jerseys for Clark, and to a lesser extent Boston, have continued to be big sellers online and in the Fever team store, others have entered the ranks, including Hull, Howard, and even Sydney Colson. Kelly Krauskopf has been part of every era of Fever basketball, including the height of Tamika Catching's popularity and the steep decline in attendance that came after her retirement. She said that while there's no doubt that Clark continues to be a major draw for fans, players see Indiana in more dimensions, the most important being the makings of a championship team.
The players they're sophisticated, they know. They're coming here to win, and they're coming here to play with other good players, and they want to play for the coaching staff, and they want to play for an organization that cares about them as players. You want to play with good players. That's really what our focus is. We don't really get caught up on who's watching who and what that's about. It's really, we're building a team. This is the Indiana Fever. When you're building a roster and you're building a team, we try to do as much advanced work as we can. When you talk to players about, Steph talks to them about their role. Here's how I see you as a player. Here's why we want you here. Here's the position we think you're going to play. Here's how we're going to play. This is the style we're going to play, that kind of stuff. So you do all that ahead of time. So before you make your decision, make sure you understand this is why we want you here. When you do all that ahead of time, then you hopefully have an opportunity to take care of some of the other stuff.
That's not to say the first portion of the 2025 season has been without its hiccups. Injuries have been a major obstacle for the team so far this season, with Clark missing 5 games with a calf strain and, as of the time of recording, a 6th due to a groin injury. Over an overlapping period of weeks, Cunningham also missed 4 games with an ankle injury. Just 4 weeks into the 2025 season, the Fever parted ways with one of its biggest offseason gets. The team waived DeWanna Bonner, 3rd on the WNBA's all-time scoring list, on June 25th. That came a day after the sports business publication Front Office Sports first reported that she didn't intend to return to the team after taking personal leave. Bonner, reports said, was frustrated after being removed from the starting lineups 4 games in, with Lexi Hall taking her place as starting guard. The interviews in this podcast were recorded prior to Bonner's exit. Ari McDonald, who had a short stint with the Fever earlier in the season when the team's roster was hampered by injuries, was brought back for the remainder of the year after Bonner was waived. While the departure of the 6-time All-Star was the first real chink in the armor for the stalwart lineup developed in the offseason, it's part of the team's continued effort to evaluate the chemistry between its players and determine the best on-court mix. Through that jostling, coaches have come to rely more heavily not only on their returning core group, but new players like Howard and Cunningham, both of whom have helped bolster the team's scoring and defense already this season. The team has also looked further down the bench to find roles for players like Sydney Colson, Damiris Dantas, and Brianna Turner. Sometimes the chemistry is instant, and other times it can take some work. Even in games this season where certain players have performed well, there continue to be challenges across the board, particularly with ball distribution, communication, turnovers, shot selection, and, well, flair, that some fans and pundits seemingly expected to be resolved right out of the gate. When Cunningham and Clark were both sidelined due to injury, head coach Stephanie White said it was an opportunity to experiment with the lineups and better understand how players fit into the Fever system.
We've got a real opportunity to grow here, playing with different lead guards, playing in different actions, seeing what all of our off-ball stuff can look like. It gives us a different pace, too, when we're in our quarter court. So I think it's a good opportunity for us to get a lot of different looks on both ends of the floor.
I'm Amber Cox. I'm the Chief Operating Officer and General Manager of the Indiana Fever.
Since starting her WNBA marketing career with Phoenix in 2005, Amber Cox has seen some special athletes. She also spent time in the front offices of the Big East Conference, the Connecticut Sun, and the Dallas Wings, as well as some professional soccer and lacrosse clubs. And while the on-court product certainly drives her work for the Fever, Cox is largely focused on building up the club as a business enterprise.
It's really exciting, and it starts with our ownership, with the Simon family, and how committed they've been to the Fever through some years that have been tough. But now you're in this moment, the ability to maximize, because we do have that support, is really exciting. Knowing what the team and watching from afar did in the second half of the season, and then going into free agency, it was just really exciting. And when we got out and started talking to players, there was just a lot of excitement about this franchise.
Social media can be a slippery slope for anyone, but for sports fans, it boomerangs between acting as a barometer for the most vocal of the masses to being a cesspool of anger and vitriol. Even so, it's a tool that athletes and teams use to build a following. The Fever and Pacers share a social media team of about 24 staffers, which stayed busy well into June with both teams on the court, including the Pacers' first finals appearance in 25 years.
They're a machine, and they're dedicated. We know there is an appetite for it. We know people want to know what's going on behind the curtain. We can't let every fan, the access has changed some because we have so many more fans. So social and digital is really a way to give them that. Not only to see what's happening on the court, to hear from Coach White, to seeing what they're doing in the community and what's important to us off the court. I think that really is the vehicle, and they understand that, and they're passionate about it.
Ken Unger is the president of Charge, a Central Indiana sports marketing firm. He said while players like Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and rookie Paige Beckers are still largely dominating the headlines, the WNBA's entire roster is benefiting from the added exposure.
What I've seen is a comprehensive, integrated plan to take your players, integrate them all, not only on the court, but to create a commercial plan around that, which includes social media, marketing, promotion, on and off the court. I think that what that does is that will continue to increase interest for the franchise as a whole and set the franchise up for success in the future. There's no doubt that holistic approach is the smartest way to do that, and I see that happening not only at the Fever, but I see that happening league-wide with the WNBA.
Both the Indiana Fever and the WNBA have launched their own marketing campaigns aimed at enticing more people to follow the games. For the Fever, the season slogan became Now You Know, which was largely seen as a nod to the way the franchise is building on Clark and caught attention for it last year. It also plays into the fact that the franchise is essentially trying to build a dream team of players around her, with Aaliyah Boston, Lexi Hall, and Kelsey Mitchell all playing major roles. The WNBA's viewer discretion campaign highlights the league's physicality and competitive ferocity. The advertisements on social media, streaming, and cable, along with more static displays on news sites and elsewhere online, highlight several players across the league, of course including relative newcomers Clark, Reese, and Beckers. For Unger, both the Fever and the WNBA have made the right moves in looking for new ways to capitalize on interest in the league. Even if Clark is driving most of that, he said, it's a good move to ensure other players are being put in the spotlight, especially as the league continues to grow and bring in more talent from the college ranks. And that talent comes with another perk: endorsement deals and sponsorships through name, image, and likeness deals that continue to raise the profile of athletes that might otherwise be overlooked. For women making the jump from college to the WNBA, the added cachet from that is likely to bring some parity to how pro teams market around their players.
It's really difficult, and I have to credit the Fever, I have to credit the league executive staff for being so deft at striking the right balance, because basketball is a team sport. Right? You can have breakout players, you can have generational talents, but basketball is a team sport, and people are coming to see the team. Now, if there's one marquee player, that's great, and that's always a draw. So you really have to balance the two for a variety of reasons. I think it's to establish that the team pulls the oars together, both on the court and commercially. But it's also, to a certain extent, you're creating a little bit of long-term insurance because no athlete plays forever. So you want to be sure that the brand equity you're building is brand equity in the Fever.
Earlier this month, IBJ reporter Dave Lindquist jumped headlong into the state of sponsorship for the Fever, which has risen to the top of the league in the category since Clark was drafted. During the 2024 season, the most recent for which data is available, WNBA teams averaged 48 sponsors, including local, regional, and national brands. The Fever had 65, and that number has only continued to climb, hitting at least 85 for the 2025 season.
All of this creates interesting issues for other sports. The sponsor pool isn't necessarily increasing. There's generally worldwide, there's something in the order of $70 billion a year in sponsorship revenue. That keeps going up. To a certain extent, the pie is increasing, but generally sponsorship is fairly a zero-sum game. There are winners and there are losers. And what's interesting about this whole dynamic in terms of not only the Indianapolis sports scene, but the national sports scene and even the global sports scene, because a lot of these sponsors that are involved are global in nature, especially the ones that have gotten behind women's sports. They're going to be losers in professional sports as a result of what's going on with Fever. That's good news and bad news. Good news for the Fever, bad news for the other sports. What has to happen is every single sport now has to sharpen its pencil and really get granular with its value proposition, because now the WNBA is transcendent.
And while the 12-team WNBA as a whole collected $72 million in sponsorship dollars last season, that figure is still a far cry from the league's NBA counterparts, which yielded $1.62 billion in sponsorship revenue, according to research firm Sponsor United. Clark herself has been entrenched in sponsorships since her days at the University of Iowa, as she was able to capitalize on NIL regulations established by the Indianapolis-based NCAA. Her roster of endorsement deals include Nike, Wilson Sporting Goods, Gatorade, State Farm, Hy-Vee, Infinity, Gainbridge, Eli Lilly and Company, and trading card company Panini, IBJ's Lindquist reported. She's been involved in multiple television commercials, and even has had her face plastered on the side of 2 downtown Indianapolis high-rises as part of Gatorade ads. Kroskoff said while Clark certainly benefits from that exposure, so too does the Fever.
It certainly helps that when a player on your roster has their own marketing deal that is amplifying who they are, and then to amplify them as a member of the Indiana Fever, they have the licensing rights to use the marks. There comes the business transaction, but then they're also amplifying your player. So all of us in the league and in women's sports are enjoying that part of it, because that's what we tried desperately to get were companies to invest in our players, and they just had no interest. Even 5 years ago, 6 years ago, there was very little interest in amplifying unless you had been at it for a while, but in team sports, it was very difficult. So it's a great lift for the Fever brand, the WNBA brand, or any of the other players around the league who have those same type of deals that also comes back to their team. I think that's been honestly the biggest indicator of growth of the WNBA has been those NIL/corporate deals that follow them into our league, and then it lifts the league up as well.
For Amber Cox, embracing the growing business around women's basketball and women's sports in general comes with its challenges. But it also means new doors are opening for the Fever and WNBA teams. Some of the process, she said, is trial and error. On June 26th, the Fever announced a partnership with Sequel to become the team's official tampon partner, which also includes Lexi Hall as a brand ambassador. Cox, prior to that news becoming public, told IBJ that modern sponsorships, perhaps even more so than in the past, are all about thinking creatively and having a willingness to listen to companies on their ideas for potential partnerships.
I think we've just scratched the surface. It's about creating new assets that are very authentic to us, making sure that they're aligned in what we stand for as an organization. But yeah, the momentum isn't slowing. And I think as women's sports continues to pick up that momentum, it just gives us even more fuel to to remain and be the epicenter of that and really lead. So I know that group is super committed to that, constantly thinking and ideating around new ways to integrate new sponsors. And that's where our social and digital team comes in. That's where our game entertainment team comes in. So it's a well-oiled machine when you talk about there are people who have been here for many years, worked really well together. Hopefully we just continue this ride. They've never been more excited to jump in and help and integrate new sponsors who want to be a part of it.
In 2024, the Fever became the first WNBA team to score an official snack partner through a sponsorship with Cheez-It. Kara Tragseiler is Senior Brand Director for Cheez-It, overseeing marketing efforts on the snack across the U.S. She said it was a natural fit for the company to partner with the team. As part of its deal, the team essentially gets an unlimited supply of the snack crackers for the locker room. Cheez-It gets its name on the team's court for certain games, and the company sponsors a promotion called Cheez-It Threes-It that distributes small packages of the snack to fans in the stands if the team makes a randomly determined number of three-pointers in a game.
All right, fans, we're going to hit 6 3-pointers tonight, so you know what time it is. We want to hand out Cheez-It crackers to the loudest section in Cambridgefield outside now. So you
To be sure, this isn't Cheez-It's first foray into the sports world. It's also sponsored multiple college football events, including the Citrus Bowl since 2023. But the Fever marked the snack's debut in professional basketball.
We had already had our sights set on pro basketball as the next sport that we wanted to enter. We saw an opportunity to expand our reach, connect with a passionate fan base, as well as enter women's sports in a much bigger way. We were already looking at opportunities, so when the Fever opportunity presented itself, we jumped on it. It was a natural step forward for the Cheez-It brand, and we were so excited to connect with a growing group of passionate fans and an incredible roster of women athletes.
Numerous companies based in central Indiana or with a massive local presence have also signed on with the Fever over the past several years, including Please and Thank You Cookies, Eli Lilly and Company, Gamebridge, and Salesforce, the latter of which has been a Jersey co-sponsor since 2019. The Fever have also signed local broadcast deals with TechNet for the past 2 seasons, allowing WTHR Channel 13 to pick up nearly half of the team's games for simulcasts. And FanDuel Network, at one time known as Fox Sports Network, has been granted rights to 5 games later this season. For Mel Raines, CEO of Pacer Sports Entertainment, the tables have completely turned on how the Fever and the WNBA as a whole are viewed in the sports sponsorship marketplace.
It's phenomenal because it shows that people see the value proposition in it and sponsors see the value proposition. And it used to be for years that our sponsorship team, our partnership team would go out and sell the Pacers, and they may do something smaller with the Fever. And to have the Fever driving some new partnerships and partners coming on who may want to do something with the Pacers is new for us. It just has opened up a number of doors, and it's what's needed to support a team at this level. The Fever are becoming every bit of pretty quickly a NBA-style team, and all of the financial support that's required requires sponsors. It requires season ticket holders. It requires a real big TV deal. And so it's exciting to see all those pieces coming into place to support it long term. As the performance center is coming, there's more investment in the team. And so to have on behalf of the Simons, and so to have more investment on behalf of partners and ticket holders is what's required to continue to grow.
According to data from sports business publication Sportico, the Fever are the WNBA's third most valuable franchise, clocking in at $335 million. That figure has less to do with the team's on-court performance and more to do with the revenue the team generates and how it performs financially. The Fever's valuation saw more than a 270% jump from 2024, when the team was capped around $90 million. Sportico's data also shows that the rest of the WNBA saw a drastic increase in their value over the past year as well. With the league's collective value as $1.6 billion in 2024, it's now $3.5 billion, albeit with one more team in the equation with the Golden State Valkyries. Sponsorships, local media deals, players, staff size, and sales all play a role in how a team's overall value is assessed. To Raines, while 2024 was a banner year for the franchise across the board, The current season is no slouch. In fact, between sponsorships, ticket demand, and merchandise, most categories for the Fever side of the business are up year over year.
I wasn't sure how year 2 of this next phase would be for the team, but I would say we've seen continued steady growth. It's certainly not as dramatic, but it has not dropped off, and the demand has not dropped off. And I think merchandise in particular, I think Fever fans are insatiable in their desire to have Fever gear. But I think merchandise in particular, but the demand for tickets has certainly not gone down. We've got mostly sold out games, and then sponsorships have also increased year over year. So the whole thing is growing. It's not quite the difference from 23 to 24 as 24 to 25, but it's the kind of steady growth that any business would want.
The Fever also struck a deal with discount clothing retailer TJ Maxx to sponsor the team's walk-ins. That essentially allows players to show off their pregame attire during their entrance into the arena. It's a component of the game day experience that has seen a boom in popularity over the past few seasons, particularly on social media, given the connections to fashion. In addition to that deal, the Fever also partnered with the Marion County Humane Society. That allowed them to showcase dogs available for adoption during their walk-in for a game in early June, having the animals accompany the players and be featured in the team and player social media posts. Every dog featured was successfully placed in a new home within a week of the game.
I think our sponsorship team is very creative and great at listening to what's important to our new sponsors and how we can activate around some things. So whether it's community activation and we want to get out and do something with our players in a space that the partner is really tied into, we have that conversation. And then we try to be really authentic about players or coaches that we tie that activation to. Right. So again, I think it's about the assets that we have available, the time that we have available, but it is a new day. So we are having to think in a very creative way. And again, I think this is where our digital and social opportunity really comes in, because those are assets that continue to do really well in terms of engagement. The player walk-ins is a great example. New sponsor there with TJ Maxx. 5 years ago, that wasn't really a thing. And now it's a moment. It's a really big moment that I think you're seeing partners around the league, partners in every league really latch onto and understand that's a way to align themselves with the players, really showcasing who they are as people and showcasing their personality through fashion. So I think we'll continue to ideate and find new ways to integrate those partners. It starts with listening to them first and what's important to them. And then again, using our really creative minds in this building to come up with some ways that really make a lot of sense for both sides.
In 2025, Pacers Sports and Entertainment announced it would build a $78 million practice and training facility for the Fever on a spot at a stone's throw away from Gainbridge Fieldhouse. The team hopes to use those plans to continue fine-tuning its roster and attract talent and investment in the team.
The training center to me is just another indication of the commitment of the resources that you're going to have as a player here, as a staff member. Anytime an ownership group makes the decision to invest in a training center that is your day-to-day home as a player, just you don't even have to say anything. That's a great demonstration of what kind of commitment is there. I think that's important to us. This city and our franchise is really about basketball. We always have been, and that's been no different on the Pacers side. That's really what we're about on the Fever side. We think that speaks to any free agent that would be looking at us, and then how the city and how our organization takes care of players. There's a big emphasis on that, and it's really organic. It's not something we try to do. It's real. But I do think the training center is really the signature piece in terms of that commitment level.
The Fever's plans for the 102 square foot facility are still being finalized, but by the time it opens in May 2027, the team hopes it will be among the best in the WNBA. It's sure to have all the bells and whistles too, as initial plans call for 2 regulation-sized basketball courts, a full-service kitchen, a private outdoor courtyard, and a spa-style retreat space, with amenities including infrared light therapy, sauna, steam, heat studios, a float tank, and multiple hydrotherapy pools. It will also offer yoga and Pilates areas, a strength and conditioning space, and mental performance areas. The Performance Center is also expected to have offices for team personnel, multiple community spaces, a separate Fever team store, and a wall of fame for significant figures in the team's history. As it stands, the Fever's dedicated practice facility would not only be the league's largest, but also the only one within walking distance of the team's arena. The team currently practices at Salesforce Court on the mezzanine level of Gainbridge Fieldhouse, a space that, along with the team's locker room, would remain in place for game day use. The Fever's facility is being built through an interlocal agreement between PSNE, the City of Indianapolis, and the Capital Improvement Board of Marion County, as it will be on property that was previously part of the Marion County Jail Complex. The Las Vegas Aces became the first team to debut a separate practice center from their arena in 2023, setting the tone for the WNBA. But several other teams have also opened facilities since, and others are on the way. About 20 of the NBA's 30 teams have dedicated practice and training facilities, with others, like the Cleveland Cavaliers and Charlotte Hornets, constructing buildings as well. Many collegiate programs have also opened dedicated practice facilities, including for women's basketball. The Fever facility is set to open a decade after the Pacers moved into their own dedicated practice facility in 2017 at the $50 million Ascension St. Vincent Center on Delaware Street, across from the Fieldhouse.
I think it's the perfect time for it, really, when you think about the NBA is about 50 years older than the WNBA. The Pacers practiced in the Fieldhouse for the majority of the time they've been. I think we moved into the St. Vincent Center about 8 years ago, so they were in their 40th something season when they got their own standalone practice facility. The Fever will be headed to their 28th season when we move into that facility, so they're a little bit on a faster track. But it's clear that the facilities needed to have a world-class team on the court are their own standalone practice facility. We look forward to giving them the best one that's ever been built, and hopefully that helps us attract and retain the best players in the league, because we'd like to win some more championships. Herb Simon and Steve Simon and the rest of the family and Stephen Rails did not hesitate to want to invest in this. They see how important it is to the franchise, and they want to deliver a best-in-class facility for those women.
Now, with NIL taking root at the college level, prospective players are bringing deals of their own to the league, sustaining that success, said the Fever's general manager, Amber Cox.
Our goal and what we need to do, again, it goes back to those fundamentals that we've been practicing since day one, is to make sure, as these casual fans are coming in for the first time now to see Aaliyah, to see Caitlin, that we are having touch points with them, whether it's email communication, whether it's a phone call from a ticket rep. Because as we walk them up the ladder, it creates more opportunities for access for them. As season ticket holders, they'll do things like an open practice, or there's special events throughout the year. Again, the more we can move people from a casual fan into somebody who has a small ticket package to somebody who's a full season ticket holder, once you've got them there, they're usually hooked and they're passionate. So I think that across the league continues to be a focus as we're experiencing this great opportunity and wave of new fans coming in. But I do believe we'll continue to see more new people trying it out as, again, these college players come into the pro that have name recognition. I am bullish on this league. I have been since I started in it, and never been more bullish than I am right now. Again, I think the product is fantastic. The entertainment around the game is fantastic, and that's across the league. So a lot to be excited about.
On the next episode of Beyond Clarkonomics.
Indianapolis scoring big time once again, nailing down hosting the WNBA's 2025 All-Star Weekend.
We'll have All-Star Fever this summer.
Organizers say this could be the all-star game that raises everybody's game, from the league to host cities in the future.
We'll look at the city's plans for the 2025 WNBA All-Star Game, including how it landed the event, how it will affect downtown, and the benefits it brings to the Fever and the league.
Indianapolis has never hosted this event, and so to show off our city and our franchise to the best basketball players in the world who will one day be free agents thinking about where they want to play. And I think we look at it from a number of different angles, but when the opportunity was presented, we would have been crazy not to jump at it right now.
Tourism-related agencies in other major cities are upset at Indy. They're worried about Indy. We know this because we talked to them. We talked to Austin and Nashville. We talked to New York and LA, and they're frustrated because we are ascending. Someone asked me recently, when will you know if Indianapolis has arrived? And my answer was, we never want to arrive. You'll never hear Visit Indy saying we've arrived. We'll just keep growing and changing and evolving and ascending. And the Indiana Fever are helping us do that.
Beyond Clarkonomics is a production of IBJ Media. This episode was reported and written by Mickey Shuey and edited by Holly Hayes. The audio engineer and producer was Chris Spangle. Leslie Weidenbender is editor of the Indianapolis Business Journal. Nate Feltman, owner and publisher. A special thanks to Fox 59, CBS 4, and Inside Indiana Business for audio, with additional production assistance from Michelle Kaufman, Daniel Bradley, Dave Lindquist, and Michael Kirsch. Artwork by Ashley Day. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you in the next one.